Okay. All right, recording is on. Be warned, any comments you make may be posted on the internet forever and used to ridicule you at some future point in time. Usually for me, it's my misspellings of things that come back to haunt me. Okay, so we're using this Drops Farmers Market website that anyone who was here in either of the last two sessions has probably seen before. It looks like we have testimonials, very cute dragons. We have the cards that came with Backdrop Core, and we have other content types, including vendors. And there was another one. Oh, geez, there's a lot more. We also have FAQs and locations. Okay, so layouts in Backdrop are very much like panels. If you ever use the panels module in Drupal, if you did not use the panels module in Drupal, layouts are a little bit different from anything else you might have used before. I don't know if it's worth doing a quick poll, but there are also layouts in Drupal 8, 9, and 10, but they're not the same thing as layouts in Backdrop, and there are a couple of significant differences. For starters, in Backdrop, any page you're looking at is always rendered through a layout. And so even if you haven't touched layouts, you've never created one, you've never set one up, all of the pages on your site are still being rendered through layouts. So they're just using the default ones that came with Backdrop. And so if we go to the layouts page, you'll notice at the bottom, there's a section called default layouts. And these are the layouts that are going to be used if there is no more specific rule for an individual page for which layout to use. It'll fall back to either the front end layout, which is called default layout, or if you're on an administration page like this layouts page we're on right now, it will fall through to the default administrative layout. So you can't have a page in Backdrop without a layout. In Drupal, a layout is optional and you can add it to any existing page. With Backdrop Core, we get a couple of custom layouts out of the box. These are layout pages, and a layout page is a new page on your website that consists only of what you manually place into the layout. And the home page is a primary candidate for this. It's usually distinct from all other pages on your website, and is the most common use case for having a layout, two different kinds of layouts on your site, at least two kinds of, usually your homepage, like in this case, has lots of rows with different colors. And your other pages on your site do not have rows with different colors. So the homepage layout, if we just go ahead, and there's two ways you can get here. I'm not fully accustomed to the new shortcut, so you might see me coming back to this layouts page a lot to get here. But the way that I most commonly go to the page to manage a layout is by using the manage blocks link on the right. So I go to the home page and go to manage blocks. This will show us sort of a wireframe view of what's on the home page. You can see that the header and navigation are part of the layout. That's also something that's unique to Backdrop in Drupal. The header, the primary navigation, the page title, and the footer are usually managed by the theme. Here, all of that stuff is part of your layout, and your theme really just controls like what colors and what styles are applied to your site. On the homepage, we have, this is a one column layout. So just vertically top to bottom, you can see the various regions that are here. We have the header region, we have the top region, we have the content region, we have the bottom region. And you can add content into any one of those, or you can move things around from one region to another to see where they might appear on the page. I'm moving the map to a bottom region. We'll just go have a look at the homepage and see if that moved. And not significantly different, but I guess the banner, the yellow banner disappeared. Anyway, I don't know if that was, I'm not familiar with this site, so we're gonna assume that was what's supposed to happen. The other way to get to layouts, and this is new as of, I think the last core update, there's or maybe 2 updates ago, there's a link at the very top in the black admin bar that says this page. And in that page, you can navigate directly to the layout for the page you're on. So this is really useful if you're on a page and you don't know which layout is being used. You can always use the this page drop down to get you directly to that layout. So you can see now that I'm managing the homepage layout, I'm on a page that's using the administrative layout. So maybe don't get too confused about that, but just a quick way to get you to navigate that particular page. First thing we're going to do is create a new layout for our site that's very similar to the homepage. It'll be a standalone layout, and I'm going to do that by using this add layout link at the very top of the page. We're going to call it sample. Sure. There's a lot of options for templates. A template is just the arrangement of regions on the page. So you can see there's a couple of 1-column layouts, there's a couple of 3-column layouts, and there's some very complicated other layouts going on here. So I'm just gonna stick to core layouts because I know what to expect, I guess. The Harris layout here will have a left sidebar, a right sidebar, and a center area in addition to header and footer. Path here will be sample. And we're gonna go ahead and just create the layout. Ta-da, we have layout. One of the things I really like about the layout system is that when you create a new one, it'll automatically copy blocks from your default layout into your new layout. So things like the breadcrumb, page title, header, block, primary navigation, you don't usually have to configure those things more than once. You can do it once in your default layout, and then every new layout you create will just inherit the same blocks and configuration, which is a nice time saver. You can see I have my 3 columns in here. I'm gonna go ahead and add some stuff. I know there's going to be a search form. We're going to say the word search lots of times. In the second sidebar, we can add let a custom block. Here's my bad spelling coming back to haunt me already. All right, we're adding a sale block, and then in the content area, we'll just do promoted content. So this is something that appears on the homepage that I know happens to be handy. And if I hit save, I will get a new layout. So if I go to my layouts listing page, you can see we'll have a homepage, and we'll now have this new sample page. And if I go and visit the sample page, you should see left sidebar has a search block in it, right sidebar has my sale banner, and then my promoted posts are appearing in the middle. This might not be, what you would, I don't know. There's lots of things you might want to put in a standalone layout. Sometimes it's not usually a copy of your homepage, but that's a fairly good example. Some things I really like to demonstrate that you can do with layouts in Backdrop that aren't maybe the most intuitive thing is if this page, I wanted it to be like a standalone page that didn't look like the rest of my website, I actually have the ability to do that here. So I'm going to go directly to the sample part of my page, and I'm actually going to remove the header, primary navigation, breadcrumb, and footer. And you can see that we get a page that's completely blank. And this can be really useful if you want to do like one page on your website that's not actually related to your brand. Like you want to do I want to make a flyer for an event that's coming up, or I wanted to promote something that belonged to a friend of mine and they didn't, I need to just have a link to send people to, and it isn't necessarily associated with the rest of this content on my site. This is a really nice, quick, easy way to do that. There's also really commonly marketing department will come up with like a massive bunch of HTML where they're like, here's your new landing page. And if you have like a Drupal site and you need to figure out how to build one page on that site that looks really different from all the others, that can be really hard. With Backdrop, you could just create a custom block and you can just drop your HTML code in it and you can hit save, and then it'll just plunk right into the middle of this page, and you don't have to worry about the architecture of the underlying page. You can just use the layout, which is really great. Okay, I'm going to go back to the layouts list, and we're going to talk a little bit about layout overrides. So overrides are layouts that will take a page that already exists on your site and wrap it in a different layout. So for example, we have vendor content. We're going to use Garden Sunshine as an example here. This page is currently being rendered through the default layout. What I want to do is wrap this existing page in a different layout than the default layout. So I'm going to go to the list of layouts, this is a vendor. Okay, just back to the layout list. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to use, maybe we'll do 2 columns. We're going to call it vendors. And the path I'm going to use here is a little tricky. I'm going to use node/%. And what this is it's now going to match all paths in the system that are at node/%. So it'll say, okay, that's all content. And then in order to limit this to only the types of content that are vendors under visibility conditions, I'm going to add a condition that will be for content type. And I'm going to limit it to vendor. So now if I create this page, we should see Moscone layout, and at sidebar, I can add my search form. And just a custom block. Okay, and so now if I want to go back to that vendor, it was Garden Sunshine. You can see that my layout in the left now has a left sidebar and a content area in the right. So the content is still rendered in the same way it was before, but it is now in a different layout that has a left sidebar. Another thing that I think is really cool about backdrop layouts is we have the ability to add new layouts. So if I go to the layouts page, there's a tab at the top that says layout templates. And this lets you decide which templates are available for your website. In this case, we have a combination of a bunch of layouts. We have the ones that are provided by Backdrop Core. There are some provided by Triplo. It looks like we're also using like full screen versions of all of the core layouts. So there's probably several layout template projects that are available there. But the thing that I want to demonstrate, which is pretty cool, is this flexible layout template. And this is something that was a very cool feature in Drupal, but never quite worked how I wanted. And it now works in Backdrop, sort of how I always wanted to work in Drupal, which is really great. So we're going to call this a flexi grid. Sure, we'll call it flexi grid. And what you get when you create a new layout is 3 rows out of the gate. You get a header row and a footer row, and you get those because they use slightly different markup. And then in the content area, you get 1, but you can add as many rows as you want. And so the first thing I'm going to do is add a new row. I'm going to make it 3 columns, and it lets you choose the widths of columns for how would you like your 3 columns arranged in what size. What you see here are all of the possible options that come by default from the Bootstrap grid system, because that's what Backdrop is using for its layouts. So I'll choose maybe 50, 25, 25, and hit continue. And then it lets me name them. So here I'm going to call this main, and I'll call this sidebar 1 and sidebar 2. And then I'm just going to leave everything else default. And so now I have a new row that has 3 columns in it, and I can drag and drop that anywhere I want in my layout. Maybe I'll put it, yeah, that's fine. And then I'm going to save my template. And now if I go back to my list of layouts, my list of layouts are here, we should have a flexi, here it is, flexi grid layout template available in the list of layouts that can be used. And if I go to my list of layouts, if I go to my sample, you can see the flexi grid is available as an option here. So if I just change this to flexi grid, I will have the opportunity to add new content here. Not very creative. Here's my search form. Maybe I'll add a menu or something. Sure. Okay, and so then if I go back to my sample page, you can see my new block at the top left, my search block in the first column, and my account menu in the second column. And this particular orientation of regions was not something that was provided by Backdrop Core. I was just able to think it up out of thin air, build it using the layout template builder, and then build a layout using layout templates. This is a very powerful way to get you some custom functionality without needing to write any code, which I think is really cool. Okay, so if we go back to our layout list, let's see, I just did a vendor layout. Let's change the layout on this one because this one's more fun. We'll make this one flexi grid. Okay, I am going to so this is something, the main page content block is something that is only available when you're overwriting an existing page on the site. So in this case, we're overwriting a vendor page, and the main page content is going to be the content of that vendor. We also have the ability to add any other content. This might not be the, oh, I already had one. I already had that one, that's fine. This is going to look really funny. It's fine. There's my search form. There's my custom block. There we go. All right, and so in order to see this one, I actually have to have my okay, so there we go. We've got content over here. It looks like this is, we have a contact person and a contact phone that are distinct fields. So here's the contact person, here's the contact phone. Just for fun, I'm going to put these fields into the very right-hand area, or maybe I'll just rearrange all of the stuff on this page. So we'll move the custom block on the search form, and then I'll put the contact information in here. So right now, those two fields are displayed as part of main page content because they're part of the vendor. But if I want to pull them out and put them in a different part of the page, I can. So here's the field contact person. I can place that one. And all the options you get on the field block are exactly the same as the options you get in the field display for your content type. So anything that you have there, you have here as well. And then I'm going to add another block, which is going to be the contact phone. I'm going to hit save. And so now we have a contact person. Yes.
Why don't you have any spacing on the left-hand side of the page?
That's just the way the layout is. It doesn't have a container over there for whatever reason.
Is there a way to fix it?
There's probably a bunch of ways to fix it. I could switch to a layout that did have the container around it. I could add a class to the row that would have it. That might be the easiest way to do it.
It's actually a setting on the layout template. Gonna
I think it's set correctly here. I think that it's somewhere higher up that doesn't have the correct
is that the
wrappers on
same
it.
row?
Yeah. Yeah.
Try doing the fixed maximum width.
Okay. Let's see if that did it. Oh, thank you. That did it. Better? These don't seem to have worked correctly. There's like maps on them, which is weird. I don't know what that is. Okay. So let's see. Oh, there we go. So I'm telling it to be a Google map. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have contact person and contact phone appearing where you'd expect to find them. Usually, if you want to place your fields in a separate area, then when you place your content, you would remove those from the content. So if I just want to go to the vendor content type and clean those up really quick, I could pull them out of the content display. And then if I go back to my Garden Sunshine state, it's no longer on the left and now only on the right.
There's a lot of spacing between the contact person label and that person. Is that configurable?
Yeah, so that is the field label showing up as block title. But if you wanted to make the field label show up like a field title, you could change that too. So this is again a field setting and a block setting. So we just originally had it set to display the way a block would display, and now we have it set up to display the way a field would display.
Great.
Okay, let's see, how are we on time? Halfway. Okay. Let's add some visibility conditions. So right now we have a condition on the layout that makes this layout only work for vendors. So if we looked at other types of content, like this testimonial, it does not use the same layout that we just set up. If we look at a FAQ, or if we look at, I don't know, a page, you can see these all display differently than the one we just set up. But you can use visibility conditions on blocks in addition to layouts. So if we go back to our vendor layout, and we wanted to trying to think of a use case here. We want to limit the custom block to, let's see what our options are. Ooh, well, can't log in as any other user, so I can't demonstrate that. Oh, we could log out though. Okay, this is great. I'll make it authenticated. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this block only appear for logged in users. So right now I'm a logged in user because I'm an admin. And so if I look at this page, I should be able to see the block. And then if I look at this page as a logged out anonymous visitor, I should not be able to see the block. So the block I'm adjusting is the one that's saying vendors are great. I'm just gonna add a little note here so I know I'm not supposed to see that unless I'm authenticated. I'll hit update, I'll hit save. And then if I go back to the vendor page, oh, I've got too many. This is, okay, it's fine. Then here you can see it says vendors are great. This is for auth only. And then if I were to view this page in a incognito window, that block does not display because an anonymous viewer like myself does not, that block does not have a condition that would allow me to see it. Let's see. So you can use layouts to override existing pages like nodes, which is what I just did, content. You can also use it to override anything else that creates a page. So for something like a view, you can use a view to create a page, and then you can use a layout to override the view. There are modules that may provide specific pages, and you might want to have those wrapped in a different layout, and you can do that for anything. And the layout overrides will apply to any page that already exists on the site that you are overriding with the layout. Layout pages are standalone pages that can't exist on the site without this exact layout. So I hope that distinction is clear. Let's go ahead and create another layout. Let's do we have taxonomy on here? Oh, we do. Okay, this is great. Okay, so we're gonna do layout specifically for products. So just like the layout overwrite we did for node, we're gonna add another one. We're gonna call it products. We're gonna use a Sutro layout, I guess. And here we're going to use the path for taxonomy term listings. It's just taxonomy term present. Backdrop will again identify that path as belonging to a taxonomy term, and it will allow us to add a visibility condition specifically for a vocabulary. In this case, we're going to make this only apply to products. On the layout itself, we're going to add oh man, okay. I really want to add a view that has the same visibility conditions as the page, but maybe that's getting too far into this. We're just going to make another custom block. Okay, so this is a products page block. And sure, our good old trusty search form. Okay, so this layout we should be able to see on all of the product pages. So that would be like the meat and fish page should show our 2-column at the bottom layout. Our non-food should show 2 columns at the bottom. Our organic should, oh, that's not working. This might be, oh, yes it is. It just has more content. Okay, there's the 2 columns at the bottom. Everything's organic, seafood, 2 columns at the bottom, etc. But if I were to go and look at the taxonomy for tags, for example, see if there are any tags. There aren't any tags. I'll add a tag. I'm going to go to the post, which should have a tag on it. Okay. Create a test tag. And go to the test tag. This does not include the 2-column layout with the search form at the bottom because we added a condition for the taxonomy vocabulary. So the layout only applies to vocabularies. Is there anything anyone specifically wants to see done with layouts? Is anyone confused?
I have some super advanced stuff I would like to ask at the end, but everyone else, would go first. I'm just going to really challenge you at the end, if that's okay, if we have time.
Sure, we can try it. I don't know that there are any other requests. I'm going to check the chat. Nothing in the chat. So why don't we hear your request? And if there's a simpler way to build up to it, I can do those on the way.
Okay. Like one thing I recently came across was trying to get the page title
Okay.
between the logo at the top inside the header and the login log out side over there. So in that like red area.
Okay.
How would I had to do it by just overriding a bunch of doing overrides and even calling some template.php code to bring in the.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. The header itself that currently has the logo and the account links, that is all one block. And so you can't take another block and like put it in the middle. But what you can do is split that one block into 3. You can, so let's give it a shot. This will be fun. This will be a fun plan. Okay, so I'm gonna do this on one of our not home pages. Let's do it. Let's make a new page. We'll call it magic header. We'll just call it header. Okay, so here's the layout. It currently has our header block, our primary navigation, and nothing special on it. I'm just going to take a look at the page so you can see what it looks like. This is what it looks like to start with. So what I'm going to try and do is rebuild the header area by adding the header block with just the logo. Maybe I should get rid of the other header block. And then the page title, this looks like we have combo here. So I'm gonna remove this one because we don't want the tabs. I'll add the page title here. So this is page title without the combo. Sure, try H1. We're gonna add back the tabs. And so this is all of the other stuff that was in the combo block that I removed. We're just gonna put back. Okay, and then we wanted the navigation on the top right. So we could add either the account menu is what the navigation was before, or we could add another header block that would have just the account menu in it. Maybe I'll try it this way, hierarchical tree. Let's do top level only. And this, I'm expecting not to have any layout to it. It'll just throw all of this stuff, yeah, vertically oriented. Oh, that doesn't need a label. I can't see my contextual links here. Okay, so here is the logo. Here is the account menu. We're gonna not have a title there. Okay, then we're going to, let's see, page title. Awfully large links. Let's look at, I'm now inspecting the element from the other header to see where the style is, to see if I can copy something that was there onto a class for the blocks, but I'm not sure this is gonna work. Header menu links. Okay, so let's see what we have going on here. There's no nav. We'll try it. And this is not, doesn't include links. Okay, so let's see what we can do. We might not be able to do this, but I'm gonna add a header menu class here. No, we're gonna make it crazier. Okay, so we're gonna add header menu class to the outside, and then we're gonna add links to the inside.
You can
Just
make
trying
it
to
a-
put the same classes on here.
You can make it a nav if you want.
I
as well.
can. Okay, let's try that. So style settings. So this is this one needs to be a nav, I think. Okay, it's still too big. So this is, I think I need links to be on the UL, and I don't think I can get that from here, but let's see.
This is actually really cool watching you work like this, though. It's
So
very
these-
insightful.
These links are, Let's see a font on here. Font family, no font size. Am I just missing it? There's a line height.
Are you trying to get the two blocks to be beside each other?
No, I'm just trying to get the font size to be whatever this size is on the correct layout. It doesn't look like it. It comes from body. Interesting. Okay, so that means that on mine, there's something else that's making it larger than intended, which might be like all blocks in the header or something like that. Padding, line height.
I think it's the header menu class.
No, same size.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, let's work on layout first. Okay, so those are floating right, which isn't exactly where we want them, but it's fine. And the logo is not floating left.
Yeah, the bigger issue I see it was, which is what I really was trying to solve, is the page title still isn't in there.
I don't have any page title at all. Let's see what's going on with page title. Sure. Dang it, I've got my Zoom controls. I think there's a
And I
bunch of other
apologize
stuff.
if I put too much on, if this is
No. This is a fun problem solving thing. Okay, so here's page title. This page does not actually have a title, so I'm just gonna add is there ability to add one here? No.
Explain to me what you mean by the page doesn't have a title.
So the
So
page I'm on, I just made up, right? But it doesn't have a title.
there's actually a page title function, and you have to call that with a string in order to set the page title. And I believe by default that's not called on. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think that what we're looking at right now is configuration for the page title on the layout. I thought the page title block had this same form on it, but I couldn't find it there. So I'm just gonna see what happens if I change it here and then put the page title block back. See if it can still read my setting or not. Okay, it's not in the right place. Hold on. Okay, so here's the title. It's still not to the left of the logo though. So I'm gonna configure my header menu block and I'm gonna add a class of 3 maybe. And then this one.
That seems like a bug.
Yeah.
Do you just happen to know all of those classes by memory?
Yeah. I just know I have to make a total of 12, so I made a 3. I did 3. I tried to do a 3, a 6, and a 3, but I think I might have put a 9 in there instead. No, I did a 6. Okay.
So say if that was like a node view page, so that a node view page would have a page title automatically, right? Would that,
yeah, it would come
that
from
actually
the node.
that would show up right there?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
We could try that. But yeah. So this still isn't quite. I think I need a outer
You have to do like a column MD3 pull 3 or something like that to get them to line up side by side. pull
You
it, push.
shouldn't. You shouldn't if they're all in order.
Well, it looks like they're trying to
Banner.
take the full width of the page, the blocks are.
Yeah. That's not the one that needs the container class. It's this one. So this is where it still didn't. I'm actually not even sure. I mean, I think this is using Bootstrap. I'm not even sure the Bootstrap layout is being loaded.
That is what's
Yeah,
cool
it
though
is.
about the system. You can use those Bootstrap classes to arrange this without even having to touch CSS. It looks like though, correct?
Yeah. That's what I was trying to achieve, but it looks like there's something in here that's making these like not flex. The other position, oh no, that's not the, what does this say? Block parent on the parent. So here's the parent. Interesting. That shouldn't.
Well, you were able to
don't know.
solve the problem without even having to do the code. So that's pretty amazing right there.
Yeah.
Another question that's related to this. So now that I guess you kind of bypass that header.template.php file.
Well, it's now just rendering around the dragon. So like if we wanted like the
Oh.
site name to be here too, that's still the header block. We're just not, header block is not printing the account information so that I could squeeze the page title between it.
So what you probably want to do is get that logo out of the header block and put it in with this other custom block with the title and the menu too then, and then forego the header block completely, right?
It's actually 3 blocks. And that's kind of why they're stacking up, is because the header region by default tries to stack everything up. So
Gotcha.
So basically what she did is she had a whole bunch of things in one block, and then she broke it out into multiple blocks.
Yeah. If it were me, I would actually override the template for the header and put the page title in the header, which is I think what you were starting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
It went beautifully too.
Okay, great. Yeah, because the header, the block has I think a markup in it that's semantically good for the header of the page. So that's probably why I would start with that one. Then you don't have to worry about setting it all up. But anyway, I found the reason that things weren't stacking up, and it was a CSS problem for the inner wrapper, which I fixed in my inspector, but it's not actually fixed on the site. So I would require a CSS change to the site.
Still very cool. You worked under pressure really well too. So good job.
Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to see? So there's a whole like world of complexity with layouts that you don't necessarily need to understand. We talked about making layout templates, which is really cool, making layouts, making layout overrides. But you can go really crazy with this. You saw a little bit of the contextual filter functionality in views that sort of takes something that like already exists on the page, like the author of a node or like the taxonomy term of a node or something like that, and can filter the content on that page. Layouts has a similar concept of context where you can, for example, on a node page, so on the node page here, you can add a layout of a user, just like we context of a user, just the same way that we added the relationship in the view to the node author. You can add a relationship to the layout in the same way, and then that would allow you to have content in here that it has visibility conditions based on the author of the content. So you could now say like, only show me the sidebar if I am the author of the content, or only show me the sidebar if the author of the content is an administrator. And so it just allows you a lot of control over exactly what content you want to have visible under what circumstances. I feel like most often in Backdrop, people are building layouts that are the same for everyone, and the contextual information is not super commonly used. But when you start getting really down into like building custom dashboards and stuff like that, this can be a really powerful tool. So there's a very deep rabbit hole here if you wanted to get into it.
That's amazing. You could get extremely complex with that if you want. It looks like,
Yeah,
without having to hardly touch any code. That's amazing.
yeah.
Mhm.
You just can't get that with WordPress or Squarespace. None of that stuff.
No.
This is extremely advanced. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that's sort of where a tool like Backdrop or Drupal stands out, is that like yeah, you can write custom code in any system and you can have a user interface in any system for content entry, but that like middle ground of like being able to build really complex functionality without having to write any code, that's something you're only going to get with a really robust system like Backdrop or Drupal. Views and layouts and panels and display suite, that kind of stuff. It is
Rules.
yeah. Yes, rules too. Gives a power to the site architect in a way that other systems don't authorize, which is, I don't know, really great.
Amazing. Great job, Jen.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was really good.
Oh, good. I'm glad that was useful.
Do you know if we have an issue to add entity reference into that context system?
I think there is an issue for that. I think we opened it immediately after entity reference went into core.
Do you have any high profile websites that are on Backdrop that you could go to and just kind of maybe look at it and see what the breakdown might be of maybe how they used layouts on maybe their front page or something?
I don't know about high profile, but this is one of my favorite websites I've made with Backdrop. So this site, this is pretty straightforward. I think this is just a normal one column layout. Let's see. Their meetings page is pretty complicated. So this is a local nonprofit that runs a conference once a year in January. They call it their annual meeting, and they have a whole bunch of people, much like a Drupal event, submit proposals, and then they get voted on and they get selected, and then they get published to the website. And then starting in 2020 or 2021 in January, I guess, they switched the entire conference to be online meeting, and then this year they switched it to be a hybrid, and they ran all of their event through this website. So this website is in English. It's also in Spanish. So if you wanted to see any pages in Spanish, it's multilingual. It runs Civi CRM that manages their registration system for their meetings, and it has this complex proposal process for submitting and registering for meetings through the site too. So it's pretty cool. So they have a lot of visibility conditions for language. So like if you're looking at the site in English, you might get a different sidebar than if you were in Spanish. It's not very complicated in terms of like the placement of content on the page. It basically uses this sort of standard sidebar everywhere. But
what's your base font or base theme?
This was a theme they bought from Template or Theme Forest or Template Monster or one of those for like $10, $15, something like that. And I adapted it for use on Backdrop, but because it was not open source, it doesn't exist on
Gotcha.
backdropcms.org. Let's see. Berkeley. I might be logged in. Okay, good. UC Berkeley has a site that I made. This is for their archaeological research facility. they have a bunch of cool things, like all of the programs that they have active at any one time are like visible on a map, and you can like see what programs they have going on in different places. They also have so this was a Drupal 6 website when I started with it. So they have like all of the field equipment that you use as an archaeologist. You can come to their website and figure out if they haven't like rented out.
That's views right there, isn't it?
Yeah, this is sort of unstyled. This is just whatever a table view looks like. But yeah, you can get, the idea is that if you were in the field, this is not a good example because it's a Xerox machine, but if you were in the field using a portable sieve shaker, you could come here and you could download a PDF for how to use it or something. That was the general idea. There isn't one on this page. But
Awesome.
yeah. But yeah, they actively are working on the site all the time, which is fun. Like I built it, I don't know, 2-3 years ago or something like that. And UC Berkeley also has like really strict brand guidelines for like the colors you can use, and like they all have to have this like funny pattern. And so I built like a UC Berkeley theme. And then I was like, okay, how do I give this to UC Berkeley? Because I can't give it to Backdrop, but I like everyone in Berkeley needs it. So like, where do I put it? Yeah.
Very cool.
Let's see. I can't think about anything else that I have that's really fun.
The hour is up, so I don't know if you need to close it down or what.
It's time anyway. Okay, let's stop the video.